morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all?
Starlings.
Wonderful. Glad to hear that. Hey, real quick, can y'all do me a huge favor? Today's like a very special day for a person in this room. I think Uncle VJ Tremonti, is today your birthday, sir? Can we sing you happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear VJ. Happy birthday to you. He just got out of C-Crewe this year, so. All right, you should have two items at your place setting. There's information about the My Galveston campaign that C-Crewe has picked up and is making a reality. It's been working hard to get the information out to everybody in the community to let them know what My Galveston is all about. It's a marketing campaign to promote Galveston Island as a great place to live. The C-Crewe launched a campaign last year with a grassroots social media effort, and the campaign is a rapid growth. The C-Crewe has great plans for the future and continue to develop this campaign. You become part of the My Galveston campaign right now. I know you have cell phones on you, and now they're all smartphones, so if you take out your cell phone and you go to Facebook and you like the My Galveston page, you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And we also have a blog for the My Galveston. So we're just trying to keep everything out there, get all the information out in all the different formats that we have available to us. Also to let you know, there should be some information about sponsorship for the 5th annual Mud Bugs and Beer on the Bayou event. If you hadn't had an opportunity to attend this event before, you definitely need to go. It's a heck of a lot of fun. It's a heck of a lot of networking. You get to meet some really neat individuals and having some really cool conversations about a lot of different things. So the event started, it was all for the C-Crewe, but it's a great opportunity to get the C-Crewe together to talk about their businesses and all the young professionals get out in front of one another. If you would like to be a sponsor, all you have to do is just fill out the form and send it in. I'll tell you right now that the Chamber does an excellent job of promoting your business when you do sponsor. I've sponsored a number of times, and it's really neat to see the different levels that you can get your information out there about your business. So that was a little bit about My Galveston. I want to kind of go over how the forum is going to work for today. Each candidate is going to have an opportunity to present a 3-minute opening statement as well as a 3-minute closing statement. The C-Crewe has taken a number of questions together, and we've drilled them down to the 5 most important questions across the poll from everyone that what they would like to know. The candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to these questions. We'll rotate which candidate responds first. And just as the way it's laid out, actually we're going to start out with Ms. Beaton first, and then we'll rotate through. The attendees here, you can write your questions. We've got index cards on the table. And if you write down your question, if you raise your hand, one of the C-Crewe members will come out and pick up your question, and we'll get to the question if time permits. Our timekeeper is going to be in the back of the room, and there'll be a yellow sign held up when you got 30 seconds left, and the red sign means it's time to stop. So, does anybody have any questions about how that's going to work? If not, if we could have the candidates come up here, please. Let's get everything started.
I'm shameless.
Go ahead and do your 3 minutes of opening.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to the C-Crewe for the invitation to speak. I really appreciate it. I'm new to campaign trail. I just signed up to run for this office a week ago today, and this is my first time to be on a podium with Jim and Don, so I'm honored. And, okay. Can you hear me? That's better. I'm running for mayor as a strong, independent, experienced leader, not beholden to any special interest. And city leadership has to be both smart and practical, and that's what I bring to the table, along with a lot of elbow grease. And as your mayor, my priorities would be to fix up our neighborhoods, our parks, and our major corridors. And by that I mean especially Seawall and Broadway. We are working on Seawall, as you know, with the revenues from Seawall, parking and Convention Center Surplus Fund, but we also need to focus on Broadway. And I would also work to spearhead progress on our two major long-term capital improvement projects, which are the two Pelican Island bridges and flood protection system. And to meet these goals, we're going to have to be prudent with our financial resources. And I am an unashamed budget hawk. I do my homework, and I use my legal training to discern what is in the city's best interest with every proposal brought to the city. We also need to improve professionalism and transparency at City Hall. And I believe in an even playing field for everyone who wants to do business with the city. But we have to be careful, because there are people who would take advantage. That's just the world we live in. The process we use is very important. I do my homework so that I learn the issues. I think it's important then that every aspect and every side of every proposal or issue be considered, and that we make an improved effort to educate the public so that you have an informed position from which to lobby for what you believe is best. And my focus throughout my term will be on the island's businesses and residents, our families and their well-being. I love this focus here. Making the island a better place to live. I want people who live here to love it, to recruit others to live and work here, and for them to stay. And that's what really will be the economic engine and the rising tide that will float all boats here in the city of Galveston. Thank you for your attention and service.
Thank you. I want to thank the Chamber for having this forum. It's going to be one of many. We'll get to know the candidates very well by the end of the day, May 10, during election day. I'm Don Maffridge, and I'm your candidate for mayor. My wife and I have been a continuous resident of Galveston for over 30 years. We have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. I'm a long-time chamber member and a long-time successful businessman. My business is developing and managing commercial shopping centers. And in this process, I bring businesses to Galveston to locate in my centers. These Galveston businesses bring jobs, opportunities, and hope to our community. I pay a large amount of taxes on my investments. My tax dollars go to pay for city, school, and county services. I'm a former Galveston city councilman. When I was elected, the city had a $2 million debt. When I left, the city had a $2 million reserve. This council made a charter change to add a city auditor to ensure that effective and efficient financial responsibility was brought to the city government. Additionally, a charter provision that required the city to place an annual fixed amount of funding into the city reserves to ensure adequate future reserves. Also, when you drive over the Causeway Bridge, look over to the railroad bridge, and you'll see a large blue pipe laying next to the railroad track. This is the main water line of the city. from the Gulf Coast Water Authority. My council took action to bring this water line to Galveston to replace the 100-year-old water line that was serving the city. Prior to when I was elected, the city had fired the city manager. That's your thing. My council hired a qualified city manager that served for 13 years. This next city council will be faced with the same task. I've served on the following boards as a volunteer over many years. I'm a former member and chairman of the Galveston Park Board of Trustees, chairman of the City Galveston Finance Committee, Galveston Island Redevelopment Authority Board, chairman Concerned Taxpayers Coalition, City of Galveston Windstorm Action Committee Board, former City of Galveston Planning Commission, City of Galveston Firefighters Pension Board, City of Galveston Crime Stoppers Board, former Chamber of Commerce Board, Galveston Island Neighborhood Association Board, founder, past president, board member, Galveston County Apartment Association, appointed to and served on the State of Texas Fair Planning Board, retired colonel, U.S. Army, 30-year service. Over many years, I've made a commitment to the city of Galveston to invest my time and effort to make our city to be the best it can be. I'm a successful businessman and invested my money in our city. I've supported many local businesses and charities and will continue to do so. Thank you.
You know, this sounded like a good idea a couple months ago. I'm Jimmy Arbor, and I want to thank the C-Crewe and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting the event. I know it's going to be beneficial for me, and hopefully it is for you too. You know, I only hope I look half as good as BJ does when I get your age, BJ. I want to meet your mayor. I need your help. I need your help first to get elected. Take votes. I'm not in this for a civics lesson. I know how the process works. The one who gets the most votes wins. So I ask each of you here, you hear something today that sparks an interest to support my candidacy, please vote for me and tell a friend who wasn't here today to vote for me. If I'm fortunate enough to get elected, I want to need your help. We've got multiple of our candidates here, which is a good thing. We're very fortunate this year. We've got some good choices, a lot of choices. There's a lot to do up here. That's positive. And these people are interested in Galveston. I have 20 years experience as an elected official in this town and 20 years experience as a private sector business person who worked mainly in the banking and finance industry. I've been in Galveston all my life. Had the good fortune to serve as a school board member and 16 years as your county judge. You know, sometimes people used to ask me what the county judge did. They thought I wore a black robe and was a real judge. As my sister often reminded me, I was a faux judge. And, the county judge was kind of like the city manager and the mayor all wrapped into one. This is a different role for me. I won't make campaign promises to you because I can't necessarily keep it. I'm only one vote. There's 7 of us. For us to make commitments for the city is going to take at least 4, and hopefully in most cases it's going to take all 7. But I'll tell you what I believe in. I believe in government and sunshine. It's your business. It ought to be done right out here in public where you know about it. Not in the back room, not in executive session. It ought to be done out there in the public. And we'll work hard to do that. I support the council manager form of government. It's not the mayor's job, it's not the city council's job, it's park themselves down there every day and run public works, run the water department, run the planning department, run the park department. We're there to be an umbrella, set the policy, set the goals, challenge the staff to achieve excellence. I understand that role, I'll play that role. If you elect somebody like Jim Yarbrough, you're not going to get somebody who's going to be knee-jerk and just be real high when it's good and real low when it's bad. You're going to get somebody who's focused, methodical, steady, measured, goal-oriented, on task, keeping our eye on the ball, not running down rabbit trails. I have a record of accomplishment. I know how to implement public improvements with a governmental entity. We need some help with the city to do that. Again, I'm running for mayor primarily because I know we can do better. And I want to make a positive impact on our community. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity. And as Don said, this will be just one of many, and hopefully you'll be able to bring some friends to the next one. Thank y'all for hosting us.
So now what we'd like to do is go through the 5 questions. We'll go over them one at a time. Candidates, please, if you would, remember to look for Miss Erin in the back of the room. She'll be holding up the card when you get close to 30 seconds left, and then the red card, it's yellow, and then 30 seconds left, and then the red card when the time's up. The first question that we have, and we'll start in the same order just for the questions and then move on through the next one. The first question is this, and I'll repeat it for each candidate. As mayor of the city of Galveston, what would be your top 3 priorities? Ms. Beaton?
Well, I think I referred to those already, but my top 3 priorities are fixing up our neighborhoods. That includes streets, parks, and the other amenities that our neighborhoods now lack. Second, our corridors. Everyone who visits Galveston travels either Broadway or Seawall Boulevard. And the message we're sending about our city now is not positive. There are ways for us to tackle that. And we have the resources to do so, but we need to make it a focus. And then my third priority would be the 2 major capital improvement projects we've got to get going. And those are the Pelican Island bridges and flood protection. We have to have flood protection. Obviously, we've seen that with the threats to raise our insurance rates that we've just been battling with lately. And so those would be the priorities I think would be most important for the next 2 years.
Thank you. Mr. Mafford, as mayor of the city of Galveston, what would your top 3 priorities be?
My top 3 priorities would be, as I've listed in my campaign literature, as we've surveyed the community and had feedback from the community of the concerns, and it runs parallel. The first thing I think the community is concerned about is our streets and infrastructure. This has been so totally neglected, and I've fought for funding for streets for many years. We just haven't really gotten it done. The second thing that has come to our attention is the economic development of the city of Galveston. This is a focus that I have and will continue to have as long as I'm able to serve, or you allow me to serve, is to get our ordinances and overlays in place to facilitate businesses to come to the city of Galveston, to make Galveston business friendly. This is not what we have in place, what we have not had in place for many years. The third thing is, let's see if I can do a Rick Perry. Let's see if I can get on to the third one. The third one is the council functioning together cohesively instead of having conflict. I want to bring harmony to council. I want to bring consensus to council. I want to provide the leadership that can move this city forward. Thank you.
Mr. Garber, as mayor of the city of Galveston, what would be your top 3 priorities?
You know, we'd be asking a similar question if we get elected. We'd be asking a similar question to all the council people. One of the ways to bring people together is to work on things you have in common. And so we'd be asking council to give us their 3 priorities for their district as well as the city. My 3 priorities as we sit today, and of course they may change, but as we sit today, most important is to get a permanent city manager. Folks, that's the biggest issue in this city, is the management of the city. We as the mayor are not going to manage the city. That's left to a professional staff. So getting the right city manager and being able to get someone who can attract other good talent with them to help us get management at the lower, middle and lower levels of the city. Folks, we have good people working at the city. They have good intentions. They're just not able to manage the volume of work that is in front of them. So getting proper management, it starts with replacing the city manager. The second thing, folks, it's been 6 years since Hurricane Ike. We need to tie a bow on that packet, put it under the Christmas tree and move on. So the second priority would be to finish up the FEMA PWs. We've got $14 or $15 million hanging out there. We're going to lose if we don't spend. And finish up the CDBG round 1 and 2 capital improvement infrastructure projects. You finish those projects, the streets get done. the sewer and the water works, and a lot of the other capital needs that this city has. The third thing would be to work to build consensus on council, work to have a team approach to our business efforts, and along with that, once we do that, then we're able to reestablish our partnerships with GISD, UTMB, A&M, the Walk Board, the Park Board, the Housing Authority, all those public partners that we need to reach out to because we can't do it by ourselves. Thank you.
Mr. Raffridge, if elected, what do you foresee as your biggest obstacle?
Getting elected, would probably the biggest obstacle. We'll assume that we cross that bridge. There are so many problems that we have, and unfortunately, Jim touched on one of them until we kind of get our house in order. So I would say the biggest obstacle is to get our house in order at City Hall. Until we do that, everything else becomes a sideline and a moot question because we can't really achieve the goals and objectives that we need without having a consensus on council, without having qualified staff in place to deal with the different problems that we have. Streets are one of them, infrastructure. I can go on. I said I chair the finance committee. We can't even get information. I can go on, but I'm not going to bore you ad nauseum. But I can tell you that I've been in the system, I've worked with the system, and I know we have so many problems until we get the City Hall in a position to effectively deal with these problems. And this is, to me, is one of the biggest problems that we have.
Mr. Yarborough, if elected, what do you foresee as your biggest obstacle?
You know, there's always dozens of them, but you just work through them just like you do in your regular daily lives and your regular business. If I was going to pin it down to one, it's really reestablishing trust with the public in City Hall. That is a major challenge. Most of us in this room don't trust City Hall. They don't trust we can get anything done. And so reestablishing the trust with the public is paramount because if you're going to be successful, the folks have to be behind you. Changing the culture kind of ties into that. We've done business as usual and business like this for a number of years. Matter of fact, it's somewhat sad. A number of our employees have been with the city a long time. They think this environment's normal. Folks, this is not normal. We can do better. We've all seen better. And we need to change the culture. And you know, I often kid sometimes. I think I walk into City Hall and I see a sign that says, "Sorry, we're open." I've got to change the mentality of how we do business and how we approach our constituents. And probably the last thing that ties into all this stuff, you realize how fast 2 years goes? Time. We have more to do than we have time to do. And there's no time to waste on petty political BS and bickering and running down rabbit trails that take you nowhere. That's why we've got to stay focused. So time is another big obstacle because you as the public expect certain things to be done and they haven't been done. And so time is another precious commodity.
Thank you. Ms. Beaton, if elected, what do you foresee as your biggest obstacle?
The biggest obstacle is bringing focus to the council and City Hall so that we can agree early on to some practical goals and then stay focused on those so that we actually achieve them. We're never going to get 100% consensus among a city council. If we did, it would not be healthy. So there will be disagreements among the council throughout a 2-year period. And I agree with Mr. Yarborough. It goes fast. 2 years goes fast, 6 years goes fast. And the council needs from the outset, despite its disagreements, to find those important goals it can agree to achieve in a 2-year period and then stay focused on those goals so that at the end of the 2 years we have something to point to that we have actually achieved.
Thank you. Mr. Yarborough, if elected, how will you support the C-Crewe's My Galveston campaign promoting the island as a great place to live?
That's an easy one. One, you're selling a good product. The My Galveston project is something that will help the city of Galveston on a long-term basis. And there's lots of components to go into My Galveston on how we can make it happen. We can talk about that when we have more time. But specifically, I'd use the bully pulpit, things like this as we go, not only around the city singing to the choir, but more importantly, as we go around the region. And in my former capacity as county judge, I know the regional players. I know, I've been to a lot of these meetings and forums and stuff, and so it's selling that message off the island. So using the bully pulpit to sell My Galveston would be an easy thing for me. Number two, obviously, you work with the employers. You know, we all know, you sit there on Broadway and you see 25,000 people come into work every day, and every afternoon they leave. We don't have to kid ourselves and think we're going to get half of them. Let's get 2 or 3% to start with. You know, another 200 or 300 people means another 1,000 people living on the island. So it's incremental progress. You know, you work at it, and that's the way we need to approach every problem. And attracting families back to Galveston is not a Galveston issue. Every community in the country wants families in their community. So it's not like we're competing with nobody. We compete with everybody. And when you have those type of problems, you work on incremental progress. You just start pulling that carpet up, and every day you keep pulling. And long term, we'll get those young families back to live where they work.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Beaton, if elected, how will you support the C-Crewe's My Galveston campaign promoting the island as a great place to live?
Well, I'm thrilled by this campaign, truly, because I'm so glad to see the business community recognizing that quality of life is essential to our economic prosperity. And everything I mentioned in my goals is really about My Galveston and making Galveston a great place to live. And a couple of things I would call out. We have some neighborhoods that are at a tipping point now. If we reinvest in those neighborhoods now, they can become vital again. If we don't, they're going to go so far down that they will be a permanent drag on this city. And for example, the old neighborhood south of Broadway, between 6th and 50th, we've got to focus on those neighborhoods. We have a large percentage of our population living there, and they're run down, and we have neglected them. I also feel that making improvements to Broadway is critical to making Galveston an attractive place for people to visit and want to live. We can't have that shabby entrance if we're trying to convince people we have a quality product. And we have ways to do that. It's the carrot and the stick. We have a fund that just, I'll get back to that on another question, I'm sure. But my time is up.
Thank you, Mrs. Beaton. Mr. Rafford, if elected, how will you support the C-Crewe's My Galveston campaign promoting the island as a great place to live?
Well, I certainly want to compliment the C-Crewe for having a goal and objective like that. But I can tell you, we're in lockstep on what we need to do as far as bringing the quality of life to Galveston. The need to do that. We talked about getting our streets paved. We're talking about cost of living in Galveston. We need to reduce our taxes. We need to make the city of Galveston an attractive place for young people to come and live here. And we have to recognize the problems that we have and overcome them.
Thank you, sir. The next question we have is, what is your strategy for getting more young people involved in the decision-making process at the City of Galveston?
Well, I mentioned how important I think it is to educate the public about the issues that we face at City Hall. most of those issues are interesting issues if they're presented in the right way. I think they need to be presented in a way that makes it clear to people that it relates to them and that they have a right to weigh in on the decisions they make. And that's true for people from all walks of life and all ages. Our Public Information Office does a good job at City Hall, but it needs to expand its mission so that we are actually informing people about the controversial decisions that we have to make at City Hall. We tend to want to avoid that and make everything feel good, but if we're going to engage our young people, we have to reach them on Facebook and other social media where they get their information, as well as through the newspaper. But unfortunately, so many young people aren't using the same media sources as we are. And to engage them and inspire them to get involved, we have to let them see what kind of decisions we're making and how it's going to affect them and their children and their grandchildren.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. Mr. Mafford, what is your strategy for getting more young people involved in the decision-making process at the City of Galveston?
My strategy would be to begin right here in this room. These are the young businessmen. These are the players of the future. These are the ones that ultimately need to be aware of what is going on at City Hall and will be engaged in the decisions that are made at City Hall. Currently, we have what is called the Land Development Regulations being played out through the Planning Commission. These land development regulations are going to determine the future of the City of Galveston, how it plays out, the final outcome of this, and what the City Council votes to approve. C-Crewe, the Chamber, needs to be actively involved, be actively aware of what's going on down at City Hall. It is so critical for the future of the City of Galveston, for the young people sitting here in this room, in the future, you are the future, understand the different problems that we're dealing with at City Hall. This particular issue of the land development regulations is so important and so significant. I urge you, I urge the Chamber, to make sure that you're aware of what is at stake and get involved to make sure that the outcome is a positive one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Yarborough, what is your strategy for getting more young people involved in the decision-making process at the City of Galveston?
Quite honestly, that's one of the reasons I'm running for mayor. There's at least 5 or 6 of you in this room that I've talked to about running for city council. We need young people. It's time for us old recreds to step off to the side and support in a different way. We need you young people to take up and applaud John Paul Listowski for running for county commissioner. Did us proud. John, thank you. We need more people. It ain't easy, to stand up here and do what it takes to get elected. So, that's part of the reason I'm running. The second thing I would think about in this area would be appoint young people to these boards. These boards in Galveston, and if I'm elected, we will work with the other councilmen and members to make it happen. These boards need to look like Galveston. Young, old, black, white, Hispanic, every different element of this town. For far too long, it's been run by fat white people like me. And so, appointing young people to these boards. And then, as you get that process done, we'll be supporting youth councilmen for mayor in the next few years. And the other thing that we can do to help young people get involved is to listen to them. When I go with my son to lunch with some of his friends, I just get energy by listening to them. I can't keep up with them. Again, I'm too fat, white, and bald and old to do it, but I'm trying. They energize you with new ideas. So if I'm elected, we'll have opportunities for us to share ideas on how we can improve this city, and we'll listen to you. And more than that, we'll implement some of your ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Yarborough. Mr. Mafford, Galveston has faced a population decline for some time. What have you done in your professional and community work to reverse that decline? And what would you do if elected to attract families to live and work on the island?
Well, you talk to the right person, because that's what I do. I do it every day. I build commercial centers. I bring businesses into the community. These people that come to the community that open businesses buy homes here. They spend their money here. Yeah, we've had a problem, and that's one reason too why I'm so passionate about trying to get Galveston to be business friendly. We can't reverse the trend by being anti-business and running our businesses off to other communities. What is going on at City Hall, as I mentioned, is going to really impact the future of the city of Galveston. As far as population concerned, as far as growth is concerned, as far as building our tax base is concerned. But that's what I do. I do it every day. I'm your Chamber of Commerce every day, bringing businesses into this community. I've leased more businesses on Seawall than anyone ever has. And I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Yarborough, Galveston has faced a population decline for some time. What have you done in your professional and community work to reverse that decline? And what would you do if elected to attract families to live and work on the island?
I've been selling Galveston for a long time. You know why? I believe in it. I'm a product of Galveston, hometown. So I've been selling Galveston my entire life. I've served on school board because I think that's, if you're going to get population growth, you're going to get economic development, you're going to get things moving in Galveston, right or wrong, fact or perception, GISD has to be strong. Served on that school board, enjoyed probably the best 4 years of service I ever had. What can we do to attract other than just give it lip service? I'd like to redevelop the north side of Broadway. And it's probably the only area behind the seawall that you can get enough critical land mass to get enough houses to get the development cost down. Now, most of us in this room, all us old timers, think of Galveston when we say north of Broadway. We think of blight and slums and prostitution and drugs and every negative adjective you can come up with. So the guy to come to work at UTMB, you know what you think when you say north of Broadway? Geography. That's all it is. And if we don't do something on the north side of Broadway, it will go down to the lowest common denominator, or we can be proactive, incentivize developers, come up with concepts that will help us develop the north side of Broadway, especially south of the post office, back toward Broadway, into affordable homes that people can live. You obviously have to work with the employers. Again, we don't want all your employees to live here. You couldn't handle it. We couldn't handle that many people. Go work with the major employers, understand truly why they're not staying and living here, begin to work on solutions to those issues.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. Mr. Beaton, Galveston has faced a population decline for some time. What have you done in your professional and community work to reverse that decline? And what would you do if elected to attract families to live and work on the island?
Well, we've been talking about that throughout, because that really has to be our goal, our overarching goal in the city. I've worked the entire time I've lived in Galveston, which is 25 years almost, to make it more attractive. One of the first community issues I worked on was trying to keep the proliferation of billboards from continuing on the city. And we were successful there in limiting it to no new billboards. And I helped save Austin Middle School, which is now the city's strongest middle school and an anchor for the neighborhood where it's located, which is in that area I mentioned before that really needs help from the city. And it's thriving, and it's contributing to retaining families here. I have emphasized constituent services the 6 years that I've been here. The 6 years I've served on council. I like to help people solve problems, and when my constituents have an issue, I come up with a practical solution. I support the neighborhood infrastructure projects that we're doing at the city now. We allocated $1.2 million to improve our neighborhoods district by district, and I would put more money into that next term. And finally, I've worked to discourage the federal government from further weakening our rental market by building unneeded rental housing here on the island when there is no demand for it.
Thank you, ma'am. That was the 5 questions that we had from the C-Crewe. We did pick up a couple questions from the floor. As time permits, I'm going to go ahead and go through those. If we get to end time, then we'll stop there. One of the first ones on the floor, and we'll start with Mr. Beaton. Name an obstacle you had to overcome in public life and how you overcame it to achieve your goal.
Okay. Which one? You know, I would say, I'll just choose this one. And that is the pressure from people who disagree with the position that I feel is important to be quiet about that issue. And to go along with the status quo or the momentum on particular issues that are facing the city. It was hard for me at first to realize that I was going to have to think things through myself, and if I felt that something was right or needed to be said, to go ahead and say it. And one thing we hear a lot of at city council meeting are platitudes. Throwing a platitude at a decision and then giving no real thought to what the consequences of that decision are. And platitudes are not a substitute for thought. So after I have thought something through, researched it, spoken to stakeholders about it, and feel that something needs to be said, I've developed a commitment to speak out.
And actually, I just realized, Mr. Maffridge, I didn't give you an opportunity to answer question number 5, did I? I did?
Yeah.
I did. I thought I did. I'm sorry, I thought I missed those. Just want to make sure it's fair. All right, Mr. Maffridge, name an obstacle you've had to overcome in public life and how you overcame it to achieve your goal.
Well, the biggest obstacle was getting elected to city council. And obviously, this is a pretty good obstacle too, it's on a larger scale. I was elected, and the biggest problem that we dealt with was to get our city finances in order. We were $2 million in debt. We instituted changes, charter changes that were put in place, and now the city is under the different charter changes of establishing a reserve, maintaining a reserve, has been financially healthy ever since. So the biggest achievement that I've had as far as the city is concerned is to make the city financially sound, stable, and sustainable.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayoral, name an obstacle you've had to overcome in public life and how you overcame it to achieve your goal.
Boy, I could give you several. Probably the biggest is Hurricane Ike. You know, that was not a fun period to know that the barrel of that storm was coming right down toward Galveston. But we were able to work our way through it. We handled it because we were ready for it. We had planned. We had a great emergency management staff. We had a facility that could help us operate out of in the recovery phase. And we had worked partnerships with all 13 cities and the school districts to make sure we were all in sync, not only on the pre-landfall side, but also on the recovery side. A lot of obstacles there with Ike. One of my concerns with the city of Galveston is, have we implemented programs on lessons learned from Ike? I haven't heard it talked about much, but I haven't been up in the middle of City Hall like Don and Elizabeth have, so I don't know. But that's a real concern, is are we ready, and have we documented and executed better plans for another hurricane of that nature? Those things you have to be ready for, not only on the pre-landfall side, and the area that we have the most lessons learned is on the recovery side. The city did a good job of getting people out of here and getting public assets protected. Didn't do such a good job of letting people come back in a timely fashion and plug into the state and federal system on the recovery dollars. And so Hurricane Ike was probably the biggest public obstacle that I had in my public career. And the reason we came through is we had a lot of good people working with us, and we were prepared for it through years of planning.
Thank you, Mr. Yarborough. Mr. Maffridge, there are 2 flood protection systems being researched. The Ike Dike, AIM, Speed, Rice University. Which system do you prefer and why?
What I know of it and aware of, I would say the Ike Dike is far superior from the standpoint of the protection of storm surge for the city of Galveston in the immediate area. So my support would be given to Ike Dike. I'm planning to meet with Dr. Mayoral soon. He can probably educate me a lot more than I currently am as to what all the particulars of that system. But at this point in time, that is the system that I would support.
Mr. Yarborough, there are 2 flood protection systems being researched. The Ike Dike, AIM, Speed, Rice University. Which system do you prefer and why?
With all due respect to my good friend Buddy Hers, the Rice plan ain't any good. You know, the bottom line is we only have one choice. That's the Ike Dike. You know, a levee system that will, again, we're not worried about from Orange, Texas through Brazoria County, which is what the concept might be, but we're here, we're worried about the Galveston region. So the Ike Dike is the way to go. One, we've got to make sure that we continue to push and understand that it is a regional issue. If it becomes a Galveston issue, we're literally dead in the water. We don't have the political muscle, we don't have the wherewithal to do it. We've got to stay hitched up with the city of Houston and Harris County and the Port of Houston. Those are the assets that we've got to sell people that we are protecting. When we protect their assets, we're also protecting ours. They do have the political muscle, the financial muscle, and the wherewithal to make this happen. There's no question on the entire stretch of surge protection, the one that has the only really economic benefit is the one that would protect the Galveston area. Y'all remember what that storm surge did to Gilchrist? Remember those pictures of all those slabs and all those homes going? Get that. Eye of that storm had gone a little bit south and west, and that same surge that hit Gilchrist come right up the ship channel, right past Ferry Road. That water might still be running north. It would have just devastated the entire upper Galveston Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Yarborough.
And so the Ike Dike is definitely a project that we need to get behind and also help us on our flood insurance rate issues that we're doing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beaton, there are 2 flood protection systems being researched. The Ike Dike and AIM, Speed, Rice University. Which system do you prefer and why?
Well, I think flood protection is critical to our future. Without it, in truth, there's a possibility there won't be a city of Galveston 200 years from now. And all these other issues we're talking about will be totally insignificant if we're not successful in getting flood protection. And for that reason, I supported giving $250,000 of sales tax money to A&M to research the Ike Dike. But I would not foreclose any flood protection system that becomes a viability for us, including a ring levee like New Orleans has. The Corps of Engineers is going to play the critical role in this process because they're going to do the cost-benefit analysis for the different systems that we propose. And we need to be agile so that we are prepared to seize on the opportunity to get the most flood protection we can for our city. And that flood protection is going to have to come with a commitment from the federal government to fund the maintenance of that system forever. And so I think it's very important. But I don't think it's time for us to hitch our wagons to one particular approach until we're at the point of seeing how the Corps of Engineers is going to evaluate the cost benefits of both systems and what are different systems or combinations of systems, what the science is, what the funding is, and how we're going to maintain them long term.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Yarborough, as mayor, can you and will you support Coach Charlie Strong and the Texas Longhorns? Sorry, we had to break it up a little bit.
Toughest question of the morning.
A little laughs in there. Here we go. All right, Mr. Yarborough, how do you plan to serve the business community?
It starts by improving City Hall, taking that "sorry, we're open" sign down. It goes in with those, dealing with those regulations that deal with our building codes and our codification to make our permitting process smoother, easier. Don't want to give the shop away. But by God, if people go through the rules and play by the rules, they ought to get the permit or the project at the end of the tunnel. It's opening dialogue with the business community, understanding what the needs are. And again, there's sometimes diverse needs. Tourist needs are different than port needs. Sometimes they conflict. That's why you need somebody who's able to build consensus and shape and come up with solutions that work for all of us as best we can. It's making City Hall more responsive. It's finishing up the infrastructure projects that are on the table. If we have better infrastructure, businesses can do better. It's developing that north side of Broadway. Again, if you bring more people back to the island, all of a sudden you need more service businesses to support those people. Dry cleaners, grocery stores, beauty salons, haircuts. So as you bring people back in, that will help spur business development. And again, just trying to develop a better relationship with the Port of Galveston and the City of Galveston will help the industrial and the commercial side there.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Beaton, how do you plan to serve the business community?
Well, I believe in economic development that it benefits everyone and when possible. And we've done that in the past year at City Hall by giving $2 million of sales tax money, economic development dollars to the port for projects that the port otherwise wouldn't have been able to do, to bring new tenants to the port and generate jobs through those new tenants. And I think that's very important, our relationship with the port, and that's why I supported funding those $2 million worth of projects with the port. The city's also worked very closely over the past few years with Parkport and Craig Brown, who's here, and I see you're cheating and taking notes for your forums. But he's been instrumental in forging a relationship between the city and the Parkport. And that's a very important partnership to support our tourism industry. And the quality of life issues that we've been talking about this morning and that the C-Crewe has made their goals those are the rising tide that floats all boats. The more people we have living here, the stronger the city is going to be. So the appearance of the city, the quality of our parks, new bike paths, emphasis on our natural resources, which are important to young people, all of those are going to benefit our businesses.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Maffridge, how do you plan to serve the business community?
I'm the poster boy for the business community. I'm the poster boy for the Chamber of Commerce. I do this every day, and I've done this for many, many years. I have fought hard, passionately, against all the rules and regulations that have restricted the development of, economic development of this community. I've been down to City Hall in so many capacities trying to represent not only my business, but other businesses. Folks, this is the chamber, this is where the chamber needs to get engaged to help move forward economic development for this community. The young people particularly, I'm the past. You guys are the future. You need to really understand the ramifications of economic development and how your effort in participating in seeing that the rules and regulations are conducive for businesses to come in. Please do that. I don't want to stand alone. I want to stand with you.
Mrs. Beaton, what is your motivation to run for mayor of Galveston, and why do you feel you're suited for the job?
Well, I've been a political activist and an elected official in Galveston for the 25 years I've lived here. And it's been a steep learning curve, and that steep learning curve has never leveled off. It's a complicated town, given its size. It's very diverse. It's old, and so there are a lot of traditions that we need to take into account when we make decisions. We have two of our major city assets are governed by appointed boards rather than city council. And I attend as many meetings as I can. If I could clone myself, I'd be in meetings all day long every day, and I always learn something from those meetings. And it's that knowledge that has inspired me to run for mayor, because I feel it's put me in a position where I can lead the city, and it's also what I bring to the table is the time and effort and relationships I've formed during those years of political activism and public service.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Maffridge, what is your motivation to run for mayor of Galveston, and why do you feel you're suited for the job?
The events that have occurred over these past few years have been very saddening to me. Watching city council in conflict, going from pillar to post, not moving Galveston forward. I'm frustrated. I was frustrated. I feel the leadership that I have, military, what I've done by being a successful businessman. I think all the qualities of bringing this city or providing my leadership to the city to help solving the problems that I've seen down at City Hall. I want to bring consensus. I want the city to establish goals and objectives that we can achieve in a positive way. I'm tired of the conflict. I'm tired of seeing Galveston stagnant. I want to see Galveston moving forward to accomplish the various things that we've talked about today. And I feel my leadership abilities can do that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Yarborough, what is your motivation to run for mayor of Galveston, and why do you feel you're suited for the job?
Real simple. I think I can make a positive impact on this city. We need to make sure that Galveston can be all it can be, whether that's a city of 50,000 or a city of 65,000. We need to be all we can be. I think I'm someone who will bring a vision for Galveston, not just a memory of Galveston. And we need to remember our past, but we don't need to be saying, well, this is the way it used to be. It ain't ever going to be the way it used to be, folks. Let's chart our new path, let's move in a new direction, and let's begin to make the rubber hit the road. What talents do I have to support that? I have both public and private sector experience. That's important. It's one thing to have private sector experience and do the good things that the private sector does, but unless you know how government works and how you can make that hit the road with results, we're going to end up frustrated just like we have been the last several years. The other talent or trait that I bring to the table is what I mentioned earlier. In my former life, I know the regional players. I know Judge Evans, Denise Parker, Jack Steele, Alan Clark of HGAC. You know, we know those people, we've got relationships with those people. We can work with them to bring dollars and infrastructure dollars and grants to the city and to our park board and walk board. So we look forward to the opportunity to work for you.
Thank you, sir. I do have a couple more questions, but to be respectful of your time, I want to take this time around to transition into the last 3-minute closing statements for each of you. And then once you finish your closing statements, I'll have a couple more words and we'll conclude this. So at this time, Mr. Maffridge, would you start with your 3-minute closing speech, please?
Again, I'd like to thank the C-Crewe for having this forum. It's been very enlightening to me, very informative. We're blessed with some good candidates for mayor as well as for city council. And I certainly want to compliment those that are willing to give their time and effort in a volunteer mode to serve the community. I believe Galvestonians want to elect a mayor who will get our house in order. This means delivering reliable city services through effective management of tax dollars and resources. The next mayor and council will be hiring a new city manager. It will be important to find a qualified person who will stay in Galveston for an extended period of time. Unfortunately, this process will delay the focus of dealing with the many current problems of the city. I've mentioned the land development regulations. I can't stress enough how important this is to this community and its outcome. It's going to determine whether this city moves forward or not. I'm committed to eliminate unnecessary city rules and regulations that restrict responsible economic development. I'm committed to make city government effective, efficient, and affordable. I'm committed to keep the city's credibility by honoring commitments made to taxpayers after Hurricane Ida by reducing taxes. The tax rate was increased from 49 cents per hundred to 55 cents per hundred. And the taxpayers were told this was after Hurricane Ida when the values went down. We're told that when the total assessed values were equal to 2007 or higher, the tax rate would go down. The city has not kept this commitment. The city has funds available. I chair the finance committee. It has not kept its commitment to the taxpayers of this community. I'm committed to be accessible to you at all times. I'm going to have somebody call my campaign office, and let's see what happens. Well, somebody's calling from Arizona. You calling from Arizona? Okay. I'm not going to answer this one. I'm apparently too accessible. Okay, let's give it another shot. Call my campaign office, Logan. There it is. You can call me at any time, day or night. You can call my office. My office cell phone rolls into my cell phone. My accessibility to you is 24/7. I'm committed to bring leadership and consensus to City Council in order to move the city forward by accomplishing goals and objectives established jointly by Mayor and Council. I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maffridge. Mr. Yarborough?
Well, let me finish up by saying thanks again. It's been beneficial to me to hear the viewpoints and philosophies of people that we've got running for mayor. The choices are clear. We agree on many of the issues. All three of us will agree. There's no question we all want what's best for Galveston. What separates us and what you need to decide is which one of us can deliver and bring that consensus, bring that focus, and move Galveston forward. If you're content with City Hall like it is, if you're content with the way things have been the last several years, I'm not your guy. We're going to change. It'll happen. You know, a lot of things we've talked about this morning, bringing people to the island, infrastructure, housing, all the different topics, we've got that in our comprehensive plan, folks. We've got our goals and objectives. You know what? It's sitting on a shelf down there at City Hall. It hadn't been open since they approved it in 2011. It's time to dust it off, highlight it, dog ear it, make notes in the margin. We've got the plan. That plan was developed by truly a consensus of a cross-section of this community. You know, consensus doesn't mean everybody agrees all the time and everybody votes the same way. That's not what consensus means. You know, consensus is having your viewpoint at the table respected. We may not take all of your viewpoint, but there may be slivers of it that go into the final decision. You know, this world is a world of compromise. Politics is a world of compromise. You're not electing a dictator here, folks. You're not electing someone who's going to be able to do what they want to do all the time. So that's why when I say it's important to have both private and public sector experience. I lived in a world where I had to compromise and work with people to make things happen. Because if you take a totalitarian viewpoint of this, and you want to do it the way you want to do it, we'll end up in the same boat we've been in the last several years. And so, I need your help. As I said in my opening statement, I want to be your mayor, and I want to work for you. I've grown up, I'm born on this island, I've grown up here, my family's back here. This is important to me. And the only way I can win is with your vote and support. And if you've heard something today that helps get you off the undecided ranks and join our team and vote for me, take a yard sign. Tell people about it. A lot of your friends weren't here this morning. They're not going to see and hear us other than one little direct mail that they may run across us, or they're going to hear from people like you. They respect you. Tell them about it. Together, we'll push this wagon in the same direction, folks. We have that ability to do that. And again, I very much appreciate the Chamber allowing me to be here this morning.
Mrs. Beatty?
Well, I feel like one of the things I have to offer that's most important to Galveston is that I persevere. And I do that regardless of the political climate in which I find myself. Because there are some things that I can't change. And the people I serve with and the level of respect that they show for their fellow council members is one of those things that can't be controlled. But my commitment is to be an advocate for the people I represent, regardless of the circumstances in which I find myself. And my 6 years on council have prepared me well to do that. I've served 8 years on the Planning Commission, 6 years on the Finance Commission, 6 years on the Industrial Development Corporation, which hands out the city's sales tax, 5 years on the Redevelopment Authority. I serve on the East End Lagoon Committee, the East End Flats Task Force, the Swimming Pool Committee, the Galveston County Transit District Board. And I am experienced because of that service. I know what it's going to take and where the money is to achieve some goals. And we're going to have to do that as soon as a new council is seated. Choose some practical goals, not fluffy things like economic development, but concrete goals that can be achieved in 2 years. And then keep on plugging and keep on working, regardless of what obstacles we encounter, so that at the end of those 2 years, we can turn to the people who elected us and show them what we have accomplished on their behalf. And I feel that I'm in a position to do that because of all the hard work and all the time I've spent preparing myself to do it over the past years. And one thing I can promise, as your mayor, is that I won't be cutting off people who have something to say that I may not agree with. I won't be storming out the meetings because it's time for me to go home when there's important work left to do. I know from having been on the other end of it how important it is to show respect to my fellow council members. And so regardless of how we feel about the issues and what our disagreements are, I'm going to make sure that everyone has a voice and everyone is treated with respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. The reason why this breakfast forum took place was because of 4 reasons. Number 1, the sponsors we have, Moody National Bank, DSW Homes, Texas First Bank, the Goodman Corporation, and UTMB Health Policy and Legislative Affairs. I'd like to give each of you a round of applause, so thank you. The second reason is because of the C-Crewe and their hard work, working with the chamber, working with the My Galveston campaign, and trying to get involved and make this island continually to get better and better and better. Let's give them a round of applause. The third reason is each and every one of you sitting at those tables out here getting educated and listening to the platforms that each of the candidates have to be invested in your community. Thank you for doing that. You should give yourself a round of applause. And number 4, last but not least, these 3 candidates right here taking time, energy, effort to step up and try and be the change for the island. Thank you. We'll conclude the breakfast this morning. Y'all have a wonderful day.